who pays for the appraisal and what is the appraisal for? Typically, the buyer is going to pay for the appraisal. They're the ones getting a loan, and it's their lender that is requiring an appraisal. So it's customary that the buyer pays for that appraisal on their own. But in some situations, it is one of those things that can be negotiated. There are certain situations where a buyer may be asking for a concession from you. We can stipulate that those funds be earmarked for paying for the appraisal. And there are situations where I've had a seller pay for an appraisal up front. So every situation is a little different, and it's one of those things that can be negotiated. Typically the buyer pays though. The main thing that the appraisal is for, it's not to determine the value of the property. The bank is the one that's requiring the appraisal, so they want to know that the asset they're getting as collateral the value is in line with similar properties in the area. What happens if the appraisal comes in low? Well, in this situation, per the contract, the buyer has 3 different options. They can choose to cancel and get their earnest money back pursuant to the appraisal contingency. They can choose to pay the difference between the appraised value and the contract price, or they can come to us and try to negotiate some sort of agreement. If it's low, you don't automatically have to lower the price. The buyer has options. They likely would come to us in seeking some sort of price reduction. It'll depend on where we were as far as other offers and how much money they're putting down. If we had a handful of offers, that gives us leverage to say, no, we're not going to lower the price to the appraised amount. You're going to have to make up the difference. And so if that happens, hopefully it doesn't. I do a lot of upfront research and homework on making sure that where we're pricing and a contract that we're accepting is someplace where I'm comfortable with an appraisal coming in at the contract value. Why does the appraisal come back at the exact contract price? I see this all the time. The negotiated price is something unusual. It's $603,250, and then magically the appraised value comes in at $603,250. And at first glance, that seems like, wow, the appraiser's just being lazy. They just picked that price, and since it was our price, and they just went with that and filled out the report, and they mailed it in and got paid their $600. Well, there's actually a reason why that happens. And the appraiser is looking at all the different comps, and they have a couple of different approaches that they take to look at the value. And if they're seeing that there is support, other comparable sales that justify the price that we have on the contract, it's in line with other values, then rather than just saying, okay, it's 605 or 600,000, if they feel that the comparables support the value of the contract price, then they will, in an effort to not create any friction between the buyer and seller, the appraisal will come in, the value will be the exact same as the contract price. So it looks fishy and suspicious, but there's a plausible reasoning behind it. And in the past, I've had, if the appraisal comes in and the value is at or higher than the contract price, typically the lender is going to say, hey, the appraisal value is good, it supports our contract price. They don't typically tell the parties what the value is unless it's low. So if the contract is 603 and the appraisal comes back at 650, well, and if the seller were to find out that, hey, the appraisal is 650, they're going to think that they're getting a raw deal in their mind, and they may try and get out of this contract. So it's just better if, for the transaction, if the appraisal amount is supported, for it to be exactly the same as the contract price.